All right, here we go. Float my boat. As you can see from the objective, today's students will be exploring the effects of geometric transformations on points in the coordinate plane and determine some rules to describe these transformations. So we're going to go back to a little bit of your geometry skills. Hopefully you still have some geometry skills. All right? Everybody remember everything about geometry? No. We're going to find out what you do. All right, so here we go. We're going to start off fairly easy here. You'll notice on this graph paper, they've given me a picture of what's supposed to be a boat. And in this boat, we have some points, some ordered pairs. What we're going to do is we're going to identify each of those points, ordered pairs. You'll notice we got a point A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. What we're going to do is find the X and Y coordinates for each of those points. So let's go ahead and do that. For point A. Point A.
This is the one.
That's where all 6 is. All right, so for point A, the X coordinate would be what?
0, 3.
0, 3. All right, so let's write that down. 0, 3. Now I'm looking at B. The ordered pair for B is 3, 3. Now I'm looking at C. The ordered pair for C is 3, 5. The ordered pair for D is 3, 8. Ordered pair for E is 5, 5. F is the ordered pair 6, 3. And finally G is the ordered pair 3, 1. So nothing fancy there. All we're doing is identifying some key points on this boat. All right, so that takes care of page 1. Now let's turn the page and take a look at page 2. On page 2, here's where you're going to need that little piece of tracing paper. What you're going to do for me is you'll notice on page 2 there's a number 2, part A, and there's also a part B. What I want you to do is look at part A. I need you to take your little piece of tracing paper, place it right over the boat, and you're going to trace that boat for me. Now when you trace it, you're going to trace the points, you're going to trace the boat, and you're also going to trace over the letters of each of these points. All right, so we're tracing everything. The boat. We're highlighting these key points here. And we're also going to label each of the points. We've got A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Okay.
All right, so again, all we're doing is tracing and labeling these key points. All right, looks like most of you have it traced or just about traced. So what we're going to do now is part A says for us to translate the boat 2 units down. Now from geometry, the word translate, what does that word translate mean? Slide. So all they're asking me to do is take our little tracing paper and we're going to slide the boat down 2 units. So go ahead and do that. Take your boat, slide it down 2 units, and it's going to end up looking something like this right here. So by moving the boat, now we've got some new ordered pairs for A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and identify each of the new points. So here we go. Point A. Point A is now where? 0, 1. Let's put it in our table. 0, 1. Point B. Now that's at 3, 1. C. C is now at 3, 3. Point D, now it's at 3, 6. E is now at 5, 3. F, the order pair F is now at 6, 1. And the last one, G now is at 3, negative 1. So all we did was move our boat 2 units down, which created some new points, new ordered pairs. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at these new points and compare them with the original boat. Okay? So if we look at the x values in our new boat, the 0, 3, 3, 3, 5, 6, and 3, how do they compare with the original boat, which is right over here, guys? What do you notice about the x values?
That's always the same.
They're the same, so there is no change. So right here we're going to put down that there is no change. They're exactly the same. Now right below that, how did the coordinates change using symbols? Well, the x is going to remain x. There is no change. X is still x. But if we look at the y values, is there any change in the y values? Yes. Notice the new y values are 1, 1, 3, 6, 3, 1, and -1. What kind of change occurred there? Do you notice anything? They all decreased by 2. So what we did was we subtracted or minus 2. Each of these y values in the original boat, all we did with those was subtract 2. So down here in the symbol, all we did was take the y value and subtracted 2. That's all we did. So in order to move the boat down 2 units, all we did with the order pairs is change the y value by subtracting 2. X value stayed exactly the same. All right, so that takes care of the first one. That's part A. Now let's take a look at part B, right next to it. Now on B, this time what we're going to do is we're going to translate the boat 3 units to the left. So take your little sheet of tracing paper, and this time, let's move the boat 3 units to the left. All right, so I'm going to take my boat, and I'm just going to slide it 3 units to the left. So that would put it right about there. All right, so now that we moved it, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to identify the new points, the new ordered pairs. Let's write those down. A. The new order pair for A is
-3, 3.
-3, 3. The new ordered pair for B is
0, 3.
0, 3. The new ordered pair for C is
0, 5.
5. D is going to be
0, 8.
8. E is now at
2, 2, 5.
2, 5. F,
3, 3.
3, 3. And finally, G is now at
0, 1.
0,
1.
1 or 2.
1. Oh.
Y'all look at it. 1. Here's a 0, 1, isn't it? 0, 1. We're looking at G right there. 0, 1. All right, so now that we have the points, now let's compare it to the original boat. Again, here's the original boat order pairs. X values. Did the X values change? Yes, they did. The question is how? What happened to those X values? Can you spot it? What? -3. Notice all we did was take the original X values and all we did was subtract 3. So right here we're going to put down that we minus or subtracted 3. And to show that using symbols, we took the X and subtracted 3. That's all we did to the X's. What about the Y values? Was there any change in the Y values? No. So right over here we're going to put down that there was no change. And to show that, we're just going to keep it Y. Y remains Y. Now, this particular one, B here, asks us to move it to the left 3 units. And all it did was change the X value by subtracting 3. What do you think would happen if they said move it to the right 3 units? Then it would have been added. All right, so if that's true, if I go back to that first one we did here, this one said to move it down 2 units. What if I wanted to move it up 2 units? Then it would have been adding 2 to the Y value. So what we need to keep in mind here, guys, is when I want to move my graph up and down, what's going to change, the X or the Y? The Y. So keep in mind, when I want to move my graph up and down, it's the Y that changes. If I want to move my graph left and right, then it's going to be the X that changes. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to try 2 more here, but this time there is no graph to look at. So don't use your little sheet of paper. We're going to see if we can do this without it. So for C here, it asks us to translate the boat 1 unit to the right and 2 units up, but we're not going to physically do that because now we know some rules here. So let's start with this first thing it says. We want to move the boat 1 unit to the right. So if I want to move to the right, what's going to change? The X or the Y?
X.
X. And since I'm moving to the right, do I need to add or subtract? Add. So right down here at the bottom, I'm going to put down that I'm going to take my X value and I'm going to add to it, how much? 1. So we're moving 1 unit to the right. But it also says that I want to move 2 units up, which is going to change my Y value. What am I going to have to do to the Y value to move it up to? Add how much?
2.
2, because that's how much we're moving up. All right, so now what we're going to do is go to the original ordered pairs, and we're just going to add 1 to the X and add 2 to the Y. So if we do that, what's the new ordered pair going to be for A? 1, 5. What about the next one, B? What's our new ordered pair there? 4, 5. The next ordered pair would be
4, 6,
4,
7,
7. D is now at
14,
10. Next one's going to be at
6,
6,
8,
7. Remember, we're adding 2 to the Y value. F is now at
7, 5,
7, 5. And then the last one, G, is going to be at
4,
4,
yes.
4, 3.
No.
Okay. Y'all double check that everything looks good. So again, all we did was add 1 to the X, and over here we added 2 to the Y. That's all we were doing. All right, so what I want you to do for me is D. D says that we want to translate the boat 3 units down and 2 units to the left. So what are we going to have to do to the X? What are we going to have to do to the Y? Write that down for me at the bottom. Once you've decided what you need to do, then actually do it. Give me the new ordered pairs. Do that one on your own, and then I'll see what you came up. Three units down, 2 units to the left. Got to be careful on this one, guys. I'm trying to trick you a little bit here. D says translate the boat 3 units down, 2 units to the left. Let me start with this 3 units down. If I want to move 3 units down, what's going to change? The X or the Y?
Y.
The Y. What exactly am I going to have to do to that Y so that I can move it down 3 units? Minus 3. Right. They put it in front, hoping that you can choose the X instead of the Y. Next one says we want to move the graph 2 units to the left, which means we're going to have to do what to the X value?
Minus 2.
-2. So this is what we should be doing to the ordered pairs. Subtracting 2 from the X and subtracting 3 from the Y. So what are the new ordered pairs?
-2,
-2, 0.
1, 0,
1, 0.
1, 2,
1, 2.
1, 5,
1, 5.
3, 2,
3, 2.
4, 0,
4, 0.
1, -2.
And 1, -2. So again, the change in words, all we did was minus 2, minus 3. Subtract 2, subtract 3. So these would be the new ordered pairs for the boat had we shifted it 3 units down and 2 units to the left. So again, X is move the boat left and right. The Y value is moving up and down. All right, let's try something a little bit different here. Next one, E. E says for us to reflect the boat over the X-axis. So So again, get your little sheet of paper, place it right over the boat. But this says reflection from geometry. What's a reflection? The flip. So what we're going to have to do is flip the boat so that it's on the other side of the x-axis. So I'm going to see if I can get a flip here. Flip. So if I do this right, I should get the graph that looks something like this right here. Okay? So flip here so that it's upside down underneath the x value. You'll also notice that it's 1 unit away from the x-axis, just like the original boat. Now that we flipped it, obviously we've got some new points, new ordered pairs. So let's go ahead and identify those ordered pairs. Let's start with A. What is the ordered pair for A now? 0, -3. That's this one down here. What about B? Where is B at? 3, -3. Now I'm looking for C. That's this one right here. C is now at 3, -5.
It's just making the y's negative.
D, that's this one down here. That order pair is 3, -8. E, that's going to be this one over here. That is now at what, 5, -5. F, that's over here. That order pair is 6, -3. And the last one, G, that's now at 3, -1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to compare our new order pairs with the original. So let's start with the x's. Is there any change in the x's? No. So x's stay the same. So over here we got no change. In other words, x is still an x. But the y values, what happened to the y values? They switch sides. They're no longer positive 3s and 5s and 8s. Now they are negative. All right. So the only thing that changes is the sign. So over here we'll just put down that the sign changed. Sign changed. How would I show that using symbols? What am I going to write down there? Negative y. In other words, whatever the y is, all I'm going to do is multiply it by a negative or a -1. All that's changing is the sign. Okay, so that's the reflection over the x-axis. Got one more to look at here. This time this is a reflection over the y-axis. So again, take your boat, but this time let's do the flip over the y-axis. So let's flip it over to the y-axis. Let me get a flip. So this would be a reflection over the y-axis. Once you get that reflection over the y-axis, what I want you to do is go ahead and give me the new ordered pairs. Write down all the new ordered pairs. And then tell me what you notice about the x and the y's this time. Write it down for me. I think everybody's just about done getting the ordered pairs. So what do we get for A? What's the new ordered pair? 0, 3. The next one is
-3, 3.
-3, 3.
-3, 5.
-3, 5.
-3, 8.
Okay, next one.
-5, 5.
Next one.
-6, 3.
-6, 3. And the last one.
-3, 1.
-3 and 1. All right, so again, let's go ahead and take a look at them, see how they compare with the original boat, the original order pairs. What are we noticing about the x values this time? The signs change. So over here, we're going to put down that we have a sign change. And to show that, we're going to put -x. X is now the opposite. Of course, the y values, what happened there? Nothing. no change. In other words, y is still a y. All right, so let's recap here. What we found out so far is in order to move the boat left and right, we're going to have to change the x. In order to move the boat up and down, we're going to have to change the y. What we've also found out is when we have a reflection over the y-axis, like I have right now, the only thing that changes are the signs on the x values. But when I do a reflection over the x-axis, the sign changes on the y. Okay, so that's what we've picked up so far. Let's go to the next page here. On the next page, in geometry, each transformation can be generalized using something called coordinate notation. Now, everybody in here is taking geometry. You all remember about coordinate notation, right? Y'all covered that back in geometry? Yes, y'all remember it?
Sure.
All right, we're going to pretend that you remember. If you don't, here it is. For example, when we have an image or a point such as 11.5, and we translate it 2 units to the left and 3 units up, the new point we get is 9/8. So when we go from this to this using those 2 transformations, the corresponding notation would be this right here. This is that coordinate notation. Does that look familiar to anybody? I remember seeing that back in geometry. That's the notation that we're going to be using. So let's take a look at a couple of examples here. The first one says translate the figure 2 units down. And I'm going to use that coordinate notation we were just talking about. So over here, we got T code. XY was the original point, original ordered pair. Now, because I'm moving 2 units down, the only thing that's going to change is the Y. The X is going to stay the same, which is why you see an X right here. Why do I have a -2? Why -2? Because we're moving it down 2 units. Okay, so this is the coordinate notation. Let's try another one. Let's try B here. Again, we're going to use that same notation. It's going to be T, then the ordered pair XY. That's the original points. We're going to change that to what? Well, let's see. We're going to translate it 3 units to the left. So what's going to change, the X or the Y? The X. The question is, what am I going to do to the X if I want to move it to the left? -3. So we're going to have X -3. I'm not moving up and down. Therefore, I don't need to change the Y value. Y is still a Y. So there's the notation for part B. C, a little bit trickier here because we got two different translations going on. Here we got a 1 unit moving to the right and 2 units up. So let's see if we can get the coordinate notation for this one. Here's the original points. Let's see here. We're going to move 1 unit to the right. So what do I need to have?
X plus 1.
X plus 1. Plus 1 because I'm moving 1 unit to the right. But I'm also moving 2 units up. So what else do I need?
Y plus 2.
Y plus 2. So there's our coordinate notation for C. What I want you to do for me now is D, E, and F on your own. See if you can finish those up. Then we'll take a look at it. Remember, all of them should start with this notation right here. Remember, when you move left and right, that affects the X. When you move up and down, that affects the Y. All right, you guys are good. So about everybody's got. So let's take a look at D here. What should I have for D? X, what?
-2.
X minus 2, and we should have Y minus 3. For E, we're doing a reflection over the x-axis. So what do I need if I want to have a reflection over the x-axis? X negative Y. The only thing that happens here is the Y values, they change signs. And the last one is just the opposite. This one is a reflection over the y-axis, which means I should have negative x, y. So this one has the x's change their signs. Alright, so this again is called the coordinate notation. So here's what you guys are going to do for me. Down at the bottom of the page, you're going to recreate this boat on your calculator. So make sure you got your calculator. Before you do that, I don't want you to have any trouble while you're going through this. So what I want you guys to do for me is go ahead and reset your calculators. Second plus 712. Second plus 712, just in case that we won't have any trouble. Alright, so here's the deal. You're going to recreate the boat using your calculator. Well, in order to do that, you got to put your order pairs in somewhere. The question is where? Where are you going to put those order pairs? What? Stat. Stat and then L. Underneath L1, you're going to put your X's. Underneath L2, you're going to put your Y's. Once you get those points in, then you're going to need to actually get the graph. And in order to do that, you're going to have to go to Stat Plot, turn on your plots, make sure you select the second graph. You want to make sure that the dots are connected. Make sure that it says L1 and L2, which you should have if you reset your calculator. Make sure you got the first mark selected. Now this should already be taken care of. If you reset your calculator, you really shouldn't have to mess with your window. But that's what your window should be. Then you hit graph, and if everything works out like it should, you should see a boat. So I want to see a boat on your calculator. Once you get a boat on there, let me take a look at it, and then we'll take it one step further from there. Okay? All right, I'll be right over there.